transformation and renewal at the end of a cycle, but there's an element of free will. In fact, it's all about free will. So how that is experienced individually and collectively can be widely different depending on one's response. You know, it sounds a little cliched, but basically, I guess I would sort of just transcend all the potential debates with the galactic alignment and say that the galactic alignment is probably stimulating energetic shifts or changes or increased energy flows on the planet. And and if we sort of accept that as a working sort of model, then we have a choice to open up to that and allow ourselves to be transformed by it, or close down in fear to the increasing energy. So there's always the free will choice of closing down or opening up. Now, as you sort of intimated there in your question, does this affect then, you know, the Earth in some kind of physical way? Well, it seems like it probably does. I mean, there's climate change, and there's, you know, other things related to that, like, you know, increased hurricanes and stronger hurricanes and things like that. And again, whether or not the galactic alignment is the thing behind this, I'm not absolutely sure. It's very striking that it is happening at the same time. But the thing is that, you know, to focus too much on the literal manifestation of these things, I guess in my own sort of thinking, the bottom line, I think, is that if we want to be sort of socially active in the world to make more positive change, like being involved in the sustainable living movement, or alternate technologies, things like this, it's great to be socially active, but at the same time, I think it's important to be spiritually grounded. So I kind of think about a new sort of type of spiritually centered social activism that people can sort of aspire to, or something like that. So, but the prophecy in the creation myth is, you know, there really is no literal prophecy around earthquakes and things like that. That seems to be sort of a more popular, superficial, latter-day interpretation that was injected into the doctrine by Maya people themselves, or people writing much later on about it. Again, it's that process by which the original revelation gets distorted through time.
Oh, so common.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you know, I've been pondering upon the idea of about basically the birth of a new man, or at least that there are things happening that are allowing humanity to grow and evolve on different levels. But I've also kind of tied actually this together a little bit with the progress in scientific and technological achievements, I guess. Sadly, at this point, it doesn't seem that there's so much there isn't so much going on the spiritual level, at least not in the majority. But on the technological front, much is happening, and that is actually being kind of implemented in real life, so to speak. Is there a possibility here that the Mayas, when they wrote their prophecies and spoke about the next cycle or the coming age, that they were actually kind of seeing the technological developments that man is going through, the breakthroughs that we have been going through and potentially are going to do in future years?
I think that's possible. In the, you know, in the same way that in Oriental metaphysics, the spiritually minded and the spiritual practitioner can develop siddhis, or magical powers, one of which would be transcending time and seeing beyond the past, present, future flow of time, and seeing into the future and seeing, I think that on one level perhaps, I wrote an article once about the ancient spiritual technologies, and it had to do with the advanced spiritual techniques or technologies that ancient shamans used, and the Maya were shamanistic, and the technological marvels that are happening, I think, it's almost like an astute person could probably project and think that in the future there's going to be a material age and technology and so on. So I suppose the answer to your question is that they certainly could have seen, the kind of technological marvels that are happening on the planet.
Interesting. That's very interesting to hear that, because there seems to be, if we progress from here just a few years down the road, there are some amazing things happening, and that actually would probably seem like magic to us today if there actually becomes, if that technology actually is implemented at some point, everything from advanced nanotechnology to even going into the biomedical research that is being done now. But I guess we'll have to see, what happens.
I guess so. The thing that worries me about that, Heinrich, is will the technology be managed by sort of selfless people, in a sense?
Exactly.
Or is it just going to be taken up by the huge corporations,
Well, exactly. That's why I kind of keep an eye on it, because I see that there is incredible potential danger here as well. So definitely this is not all positive. Definitely not. No, I agree.
There has to be a balance between the spiritual and the material.
Exactly, and I guess that this is also a big part here of your work, to trying to kind of balance things out a little bit here, because we're, again, as you've been referring to in your talks and so forth, that there seemed to be a converging point here at 2012, and there's so many different things that are basically people talk about a singularity and so forth, that potentially after this point it could take, we could go into a whole new direction basically, and at this point we have no idea what that direction is going to be, right?
Yeah, but I think the analogy is really much more grounded, the way we can understand it. The analogy would be the day cycle, the midnight point in the day cycle. Certainly when you turn that point, there's no turning back. You start to forget about the previous day, and the energies of the new day start to come around. Same thing with the December solstice. That is the analogy in the year cycle, and so on the great cycle, we reach this sort of singularity, this point of no return, and we cross the boundary, cross the line, and then there's no turning back. And we sort of have to commit to moving forward into the next cycle.
Do you think that we have been in a kind of a, I guess, Iron Age, or the Kali Yuga, and that we are actually moving into a golden age after 2012?
Well, I think that we are. It's my belief, looking at the Maya material and the Vedic material as well, that the precession cycle and the galactic alignment in particular does provide the sort of the midnight point for the cycle. So it's in my view, it is the end of the Iron Age, and we are at a point then where we are about to shift from the descending phase of the cycle. All cycles go through two phases, a descending and an ascending phase, and we're about to end the descending phase, which is basically the descent into increasing materialism. Going along with that, increasing spiritual darkness. It's that dialectic between materialism and spirituality. So as we turn the corner, then we sort of are moving then into towards the dawn, you might say. The light is increasing in the same way that after the December solstice, the light starts to increase. So we're at a phase, though, where people are sort of holding on to the values and ideas that worked perfectly well for the previous cycle, but are not going to really serve humanity in the next cycle. So there has to be a creative, conscious effort to transform the values and the beliefs into a new sort of modality that can serve humanity in the future.
Definitely, and what, we're actually fast approaching the end of our time in this first segment here, and we are going to take a short break here at this point and continue our conversations with John Major Jenkins. There's so much more to talk about: Pyramid of Fire, Isapa, and much more here. But before we do that, John, I want to kind of leave the floor open to you, and you know, in case people are interested in getting your books and so forth, how would they go about doing that?
Well, people can go to my website, alignment2012.com. I do have DVDs, and I ship them to Europe frequently, and usually the shipping cost is not that much because they're just so light, and I package them lightly. And I have DVDs for sale there. My books are also available internationally, I think. Probably, maybe it's some kind of version of Amazon Europe or something like that might have them. Or they can order books, you know, through my website. That'd be a great way to do it.
Okay, excellent.
And my website also has you know, upcoming events. There's been some talk of bringing me to Amsterdam for a conference, so that might happen in the near future. Yeah.
Interesting. Nothing ready. Nothing clear at this point when it's going to be and so forth.
Not quite. No.
Okay, but that's something to keep an eye on, I guess. Then the main website again I want to give out is alignment2012.com. That will get you to John's website, so you can check out his books, his DVD, and articles, and much more that he has on there for us. But for this segment, thank you so much, John. We're going to take a little break here, but we'll talk on the other side of this break.
Okay, thank you so much.